Hi everybody and welcome back to another Mysidia Post video. My name is Alex Scott.
And I'm blowing in as Travis Pfeifer. That
And
was corny. That's all I had.
we are going to cover the wind portion of Opus XI, which the pre-release is coming out tomorrow. So this is the Friday that we got the card dump. We're doing all the spoiler videos, or as many as we can. So that being said, we're going to get right into it. The first card is Jorni, which is a 3 CP wind backup job princess, category FFL, and when Jorni enters the field, you may search for one category FFL forward and add it to your hand. So we already have this in Ice. We have the Mask, who also searches in a category FFL forward. So it's good to have it in multiple colors. We've gotten FFL forwards now printed in every single color, I believe. So there's a lot of different options, and it's just good to have searchers. And one thing I didn't notice until this reading right now is that she is a job princess, which is very relevant for certain decks. We even have a princess searcher now, which means that we have a backup that can search a backup, which is always good. So overall, I think this is just a welcome addition to our searching family.
I'm very drawn to the characters from Final Fantasy Legend. I've never played it. I don't think it was ever released in the States. I think it was originally called like Final Fantasy Dimensions. But I really like the Warriors of Darkness. And so every character I've seen from this game on these cards just makes me want to know more about it. Makes me want to play it. I love her artwork. She just looks so cute, and like, I don't know, there's something about the way the cape is flared and the way her hair, and she's got the big feather in the hat. She just looks really neat design. Yeah, my only complaint is like, man, I love Warriors of Darkness so much. That's a fun little art, like half archetype. And so I wish there was an Earth or Lightning version of this so I could pull out the Noct and the Alba and the Diana and all that. But yeah, other than that, this card is fun.
I do like the FFL searchers just because you can run just the lightning part of the Warriors of Darkness. Alba and Diana are very, very strong on their own. So in a Lightning Wind or Lightning Ice, you've got a Warriors of Darkness package that is very searchable and playable. So one quick note, this is from Final Fantasy Legends 2. So I think that this it includes like a bunch of different Legends games. I think some of the other like cards we have in this game, they're split up between game, but this one they're just combining it all. Like Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles has like 4 different Crystal Chronicle games all packaged into one category. We're getting the same thing kind of here. So I think this one's a mobile game, which is kind of neat because we're getting all this awesome art from it that's a little bit different than the Dimensions art. It's all pretty, like you said, it all looks really neat.
Yeah, so. Absolutely.
Okay, speaking of nice art, why don't you talk about the next card?
Look at this beauty. This is Warrior of Light, 3 cost, 7k forward, job Warrior of Light, of course. When Warrior of Light enters the field during this turn, the next damage dealt to you becomes 0 instead. And then he has an action ability for 0 CP. Choose one forward other than Warrior of Light. It gains 2,000 power until the end of the turn. During this turn, when that forward is put from the field into the break zone, Warrior of Light deals you 1 point of damage. You can only use this ability once per turn. It's a shame this guy won't fit into my Warrior of Light deck because he's wind, and he also name clashes with the other Warriors of Light. But he's a very neat card. He definitely is a build around. Like, you're not just going to just throw this. You're going to throw this into something where you will purposely take damage and then block it. His second effect is very interesting, but also very risky because you could use it to essentially win a bunch of trades, but then if they have some way to counter that, not only are you going to lose that trade, you're now taking a point of damage on top of that. Some people have ironically said, what goes best with Warrior of Light? Well, Zodiark, because that way when Zodiark nukes you for all that damage, he's actually going to protect you from it. So he's an interesting one. He's going to be one we'll just have to see, in my opinion. Some people think he's going to be so good, but I think he's only going to be so great in certain instances. So I will be curious to see if he's going to be as popular as some people think he will, or if in reality it's like, it's honestly just a little too much setup to get his effect the way we want it to. So he'll be a fun one to watch.
I'm glad you mentioned Zodiark because that's my intended use of him, and I'm excited to do that. Some sort of like mono wind Zodiark list with like Kadaj or Veritas or something along those lines. Okay, next up we have Edge, which is our enabler of the ninja archetype. Without him, it's not happening. He is a 2 CP, Job Ninja, Wind Forward, 5k power, category 4. When the cost required to play your job ninjas or card name ninjas onto the field is reduced by 1, and can be paid with CP of any element. When a job ninja or card name ninja other than Edge enters your field, place 1 shuriken counter on him. You can remove a shuriken counter to deal forwards 3,000 damage. So this is where we were talking about the fire ninja. Well, he doesn't have to do that much, because if you have Edge out, then Edge is going to pack onto that damage. And if you're playing a ton of ninjas, including the ninja backups, then you're going to be racking up a bunch of shuriken counters, and I don't know that there's any limit to how many you can have. So if you play 3 ninjas, he's got 9k damage ready to sling, and your opponent can try to remove them, and you'll just take off your 3 counters and deal 9k to something. You could even play this with something like Fina, and you could just be like, I'm going to shuriken 1, 2, 3, and then Fina everybody, and then that's your board clear. So there's kind of a cool application like that. The cost reduction for ninjas and the element fixing is huge, because we have ninjas in every element. We have all these multicolored, all of the Edge's compatriots are all different colors, so this allows you to bring them all into one deck. So overall, this is like a hyper pushed ninja card that's going to help the archetype exist, if it does end up existing.
He's so cool. And yeah, your last statement there said it perfectly. If ninjas is going to become a thing, it's because of Edge. I mean, look at him there standing off, and he's got the mask and the cape flowing behind him. Oh, it looks so cool. It reminds me of Shinobi, the PlayStation game where he had the big long red scarf. Love that game. Yeah, so again, important for the archetype. It's card name ninja and job name ninja, so nobody gets left behind. Every one of those guys is cheaper. That's great. Every one of them comes in, gives him a shuriken counter. That's even better. And because the way the action ability works, you just remove a counter. He doesn't need to be active. Haste isn't involved. So again, if they somehow blow him up immediately, say it's all right, well, I'm at least throwing the stars at you on the way out. Like, yeah, if ninjas is going to be a thing, it's going to be because of this guy. And I'm so excited to try it myself and to see what it can do. And I may have to get some plastic throwing stars that I can throw at my opponent's cards whenever I bring Edge out, because he's just, again, this is, if you're going to push an archetype, this is the right way to do it. He's completely inclusive. He helps everybody, and he doesn't have any restrictions. Again, imagine if he had to dull himself to use those counters. Like, what a difference that would make. So yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, and I want to see how long you last at your local game store throwing fake shurikens.
Yeah, it might only be for 1 week. Darn it, it'll be worth it.
Okay, so we've got our counter monster for Wind coming up next.
Killer Bee! Killer Bee! All right, this is Killer Bee. He's a monster, job insect. 2 cost. This is the Wind version of... so when a Wind character other than Killer Bee enters your field, you place a monster counter on him, break him normally, choose up to 3 characters and activate them, break him with 3 counters or more, and you activate all the characters you control. This one... I don't know. Activating 3 characters is very good, especially like if you're going against ice. This is a good way to get around them. But also, Wind has so many ways of doing that, and he costs 2. So in reality, if you think about it, like let's say you tap 2 backups, put him down, instantly break him, you're only getting a +1 out of that. So yeah, just like the other monsters, like I just don't know. Now, again, if you can get him with all 3, having this guy as like a Layak or an Unsaganashi on 5, and you can just reactivate your board, that's incredibly strong. So I do think the 3 cost of this, but I mean, but again, Wind already has so many cards that do that. Like, do they need this? I don't know. He could be fun with Garuda because he's another monster for it, but just, yeah, I just don't know.
We already have, like, you just listed a bunch of cards that are better than Killer Bee, so I don't think we need it. I think it's too much work to do something that Wind already does quite well, so I don't think we're going to see it too much. Okay, next up we have Thief. So Thief is a 3 CP backup standard unit and category special, which is kind of relevant for title. When Thief enters the field, turn over 1 card at a time from the top of your deck until an Earth or Lightning card is revealed. Add it to your hand, then shuffle all the other cards to the bottom of your deck. So we've already talked about these cards in the other videos. They're just solid for finding a specific card or just color fixing, and I think that they'll all see play. One one thing I want to kind of mention is that thieves are obviously very cool in video games and RPGs. Here's the thief that has all the stuff he's stolen, and it looks like he's like set it up on a blanket, and he's like gonna sell it, or maybe he's planning his next job. But if he's selling his stuff on a blanket, you know who also does that? All the homeless people that live in my city, and I don't idolize them. So, are these thieves that we thought are like so cool in all these games? Are they really just like homeless people stealing stuff and trying to sell it downtown so they can, like, here, buy the shampoo took from the pharmacy? Like, I don't know. I'm having a hard time with this guy.
I have nothing to add to the depth of the thought you just bestowed upon us.
Okay, then you know what? Why don't you talk about the next thief?
Sure. I mean, yeah, we're talking about thieves. So this thief is a forward, standard unit, multi-playable, 4 cost, 7K. When thief enters the field, if the cost to play thief was paid with CP of 2 or more different elements, draw a card. I like the artwork because it looks very cheeky. I like the coins both glittering and then that he's flipping them, but similar to I think it was a fencer from Ice. Again, it's just like it's an undercurve. The fact that you have to do this other thing to just, I mean, if you're going to go for a card draw, why not just play the Moogle? Like, he lets you draw, and then he draws on exit, too. Like, yeah, so maybe it would have a place in Limited or something, but this just feels like a throwaway.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so next up is Chelinka, which is a very cool card and a very big name clash. So Chelinka is a 3 CP wind backup, and she is a ley crystal user, which is a big deal for everyone that was mad about her being job girl. Category FFCC, which is very relevant. When Chelinka enters the field, choose one forward until the end of the turn. It gains Brave, and this forward can attack twice in the same turn. And you can pay 2 wind and dull Chelinka, so 3 CP total, to return Chelinka to your hand. And if there was an element you could do that in, it's certainly wind. There are so many forwards that you want to attack twice that this becomes a very interesting card. But I don't know. It seems like a lot of work, like to play 3 CP and then you'd like to invest to bring it back. I just wonder how many times you're going to be able to play this. There is a card in Earth that I'm really excited for because it can cheat this out, which is a neat interaction. But overall, like, it also clashes with the Legend Chelinka, so that's a bit of an issue for me as well. So I think that this is a really cool card, and I think it's powerful, but I don't know that it will be used that much.
This artwork of her looks so different than the mono art that is the Legend. Like, it's kind of weird it's the same character because they just don't look anything like each other. But I love that name. What a great name, Chelinka. Such a cool name, Chelinka and Yuri. So anyway, yeah, so people were kind of going nuts when this first came out, at least in my group. That, wow, that's so strong. But you pointed it out, and I'm really looking over it like, that's a lot of CP to get that effect to work. So it's 3 to get her down, and then you're going to have to dull her and then pay 2 more to bounce her back, which means you're then going to have to pay another 3 to put her down again. And the thing is, in Fire, there's a backup called Samurai, which when he comes in, he gives a forward Brave and 2K. And a backup that does that for 1 turn, I just find really hard to use. Like, if it gives them haste, it's great because it means you can play the forward that turn. You haste them, and boom, they can go right in. But if you Brave and a power buff, they have to have already been on the field for a turn. Because if you're not attacking with them, what's the point of that? And obviously, you want to do this because it makes them attack twice. So it has to be a card that's already on the field. Then you got to Chelinka. And just in my experience, playing cards like that just give like Brave and power, it just hasn't worked out very well. Either I won't even draw the card, or I never have a forward on the field when I have it. So I don't know. Yeah, this one feels. I will be surprised if this ends up working really well because this reads like one that like what sounds really great, but it's just not going to be worth all the effort you have to go through to get it to go off.
But if you do on a card like Genesis or something else, then obviously that's going to be a huge deal. So there are certainly some good targets for it. So,
for sure. Hell, even just like a Yasmat, like a 10K Brave Yasmat that hits you twice and stays active. That's pretty sweet.
Okay, so next up we have our first Chocobo of the set.
Yay! Yeah, that's pretty good. So my girlfriend plays a Chocobo deck, which she loves, and it's nice to finally have another one that I can slot in there. So he's card named Chocobo, multi-playable, 3 cost, 5K power, job standard unit. When Chocobo is put from the field into the break zone, you may search for 1 job Chocobo or card named Chocobo and add it to your hand. Yep, he ticks every box he needs to. That again, as I said in another video, that was one of my big complaints with the backup Fat Chocobo from Opus 9 was that he didn't cover Job Chocobo, so he could whiff on a couple of these. He covers Job, he covers Name. He's a little underpowered, which is unfortunate. It would have been kind of neat to see him at a 6K at least, but he's going to replace himself. You know, you're going to get to pull out another Chocobo from your Chocobo deck, which is always great. And it's important that he's 3 costs because it means he's in range of the Legend Fat Chocobo, so you can instantly plop him onto the field if you need to. And he is now Chocobo's best chump blocker, because Chocobos before this had nothing that happened when it went to the break zone now. So now you have a card that, yeah, I want to block with him so that way I get to pull out another one. Yeah, he's great. Except his artwork, he looks so sad. I feel bad for him.
His eyes are creeping me out, honestly. I don't know Chocobos well enough to know if this is worth cutting other Chocobos, because obviously, unless you're a cheater, up until now all your Chocobo decks have had 50 cards in them, so that means you're going to have to take something out to put this one in. And that's a tough choice because there's a lot of good Chocobos, and we even have another Chocobo coming up in later on in this video.
He's definitely worth trying. I play a lot of Chocobos, so I think he's definitely worth a shot.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna take your word for it again. I don't play a lot of Chocobos. Next up, we have Tsukinowa, which is a 3 CP 7K forward job ninja. When Tsukinowa enters the field, choose up to the same number of characters as you control as job ninja, or card name ninja you control activate them, and then 1 wind. He cannot be blocked by forwards of cost 5 or more until the end of the turn. So he should fairly consistently be free.
I was like, can you say free card?
Right? You're going to have, well, maybe he costs 1, but he activates a forward. Like, it's interesting how many ninja backups are you really going to run. If it's Fire Wind Ninja, then I think you could get 3 ninja backups pretty easily. And I guess we also have a Ninja Searcher coming up in another element as well. So there's different ways that you can get ninja backups out, but otherwise he's going to be just like a really cheap card, a very efficient card, and he puts up your ninja count. I don't like the wind ability because it's just, there's so many 3 cost and 4 cost forwards that are going to smoke this guy that, who cares about the 5 cost forwards? He's got to watch out for everybody. He's not long for this world.
I kind of disagree on that because it's only 1 win, and 2, it's completely optional. You're only ever going to use it if, there's a forward I can sneak past. I think if anything, it's a hidden threat. Yeah, if there's other stuff but again, you use that and combined with your edge, you have your edge shrieking down all the 4 costs. Oh, you've just got Veritas left? Hey, I'm sneaking through now. So the fact that it's just there as an option, I think is fine. And I think what's really interesting about its starting text is that choose up to the same number of characters you control. So they don't even have to be ninjas that you're targeting with. And this is a great main phase 2 card. Swing in with all your ninjas, main phase 2, boom, I just pulled my blockers back up. So it doesn't just have to be the backups, which of course you can. And if you get a lot of ninjas, maybe not only is this card free, but you're also recovering a forward. So I think this card reads really well. I'm excited to try it. I think it's got a lot of potential.
I just think that they could have been more aggressive with it's not that I don't like the ability, it's that I think that they didn't even have to go so specific. They could have given it more unblockable potential.
That's fair. Well, and there's another version of this that I think has a similar effect, and it's like 3 or higher, I think, or maybe 2 or higher. I think it's 3 or higher. And there's other ninjas that, they really sneak in under almost everything. So 5 is kind of high. I won't deny that, but I don't know. I don't think it's too bad.
And you know what? One thing I want to mention very quickly is that we're evaluating all these cards based on what we're seeing here, but when we're evaluating ninjas, keep in mind that a lot of the time they might cost 1 less because of edge.
Yeah.
So he could be a 2 CP ninja coming in, and then that's going to be even better. So something to consider. Now, you said that you were...
I was going to say, we've seen in World of Final Fantasy how relevant that was, that rain cheaper, so...
Now, you said that you weren't a huge fan of the Opera Omnia art style. Are you also not a fan of the Pict Logica?
I don't know. This one... I like this one a little better. I don't know why. Maybe because in World of Final Fantasy, everyone in their Lilty form looked like this, so maybe I'm
Yes.
very used to seeing it. Whereas I've never played Opera Omnia, so maybe I'm just not used to that art style. But this one, again, I do feel used to it because everyone in World of Final Fantasy looked like this when they weren't in giant form.
Yeah, and I like that. I also like the little blocks they're on. Like his has a little
Yeah.
kunai in it. Like that's cute. So there's a few cards like that. Like the Sid Alstein one has all this stuff around him
Yeah.
that's really funny looking, and like I just think they're pretty awesome. I enjoy the
Yeah.
Pick Logica arts quite a bit.
Yeah. I like this one.
Okay, we've got another chaos card to talk about.
All right, this is Tiamat, one of the other four fiends, Job Chaos, 5 CP forward, 9k body. When Tiamat enters the field, you may pay 2 wind and a colorless. When you do so, choose one forward of cost 5 or more. Break it. When Tiamat is put from the field into the break zone, you may search for one Job Chaos other than card name Tiamat and add it to your hand. Like Merilith before him, it's got the same exit effect. I do like the art. I like seeing all the different heads. He looks very ferocious, and it's always nice to see the four fiends represented. Like the other ones, having a Diabolos effect on entry isn't bad, but that's just very expensive. So that's 8 CP. Yeah, that's just a lot to. Yeah, you're getting a good body out of it, but again, that's a lot of CP to pay to break something on entry. I think the only advantage this one maybe would have is that it's in wind, and wind is an element that is known for reactivating stuff and getting free, basically, cards because of its CP. So maybe in wind, it won't feel as expensive to play, but that's still a lot.
I mean, it's always gonna be more than your backups can pay, even in wind. Even if you like play something and then reactivate backups, you have to pay the extra all in one go. So no matter what, you are paying extra on top of this guy 2 discards to do the break forward, and like you can already do that in so many different wind decks. Like the crazy thing about these cards is that they also force you to play multi elements and possibly 3 or 4 elements, and then the payoff is not that big. So I'm liking these cards less and less the more I see them. My favorite one is the Earth card, but overall I'm not a huge fan of this one. I think the ones that have a 2 CP extra kicker, those are a lot easier to play. I like those ones more, but the 3 CP is just not manageable.
You know, that's a really great point, Alex, because they need 8 total for their effect as opposed to 7. With 7, you could tap 5 backups and play 1 card from hand. Maybe that, but yeah, with 8, you will always have to pitch 2. Always. There's no way around that. So yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. If these had been 7 cost, again, if the extra effect had been 2, and maybe it was like locked to the element it's in, I think that would feel a lot better.
Okay, next up we have Doned, which is a 4 CP wind backup job clan leader and category FFTA. When Doned enters the field, you may search for one card named Marsh or one monster and add it to your hand. Neat. It has a 1 wind doll, and put Doned into the break zone. Choose one category FFTA card in your break zone and add it to your hand. So this is going to add Marsh and Ritz back to your hand. It's going to search marshes. It's going to search monsters. It's got a lot of utility. I think that this is just a really solid card and a really nice backup to just play in wind and have a monster searcher too.
Yeah, absolutely. Less similar to March's artwork. He's got that same kind of look of like, what's going on? And he's looking the other way too. So if you get March and him on the field together, you can put them side by side, and they'll both be like looking over the same shoulder, like looking back at something. Other than that, you said it all. I don't know a ton about FFTA as far as like a category here, so I wish I knew what more the lines and combos were, but it just seems like it feeds into it. So
what you have to understand is that Lua is FFTA 2, so don't even think about pulling back an Lua with this. Get out of town.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Okay, you know what? We've got a mysterious person next. There's no possible way to tell who it is. But
this is the Hooded Man. It is a 4-cost 7k forward EX burst. Job is Technically, I think this is the same job that the Mask has from Opus 8.
Yes.
So maybe one day there'll be, if you control job type, question mark, da 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 da. Category 4. So you cannot play Hooded Man or card name Kane while already in control of the other character. I wonder why. All right. EX Burst. When Hooded Man enters the field, choose one category 4 forward other than card name Hooded Man in your break zone. Add it to your hand. At the end of each of your turns, activate all the category 4 forwards you control. 4 is, of course, a very popular game, and unfortunately, we just haven't quite seen a 4 deck that's just like, yeah, that's the 4 deck. That is like the definitive 4 deck. So hopefully this is continuing to push us towards that. If you had a really good 4 deck, that second effect is great. All your 4 characters will always be live and active, which is fantastic. Again, I just don't know how relevant that is because, especially with Wind, I don't recall there being a lot of other Wind characters in Category 4. Alex will know this better than me, given that it's the title of his website. Mm-hmm. So other than that, recursion on entry is always good, especially as the EX Burst. But he's also a little undercosted. And unfortunately, the other problem, too, is that you can't play Kane, which generally happens to be one of the best characters in the 4s. So yeah, that part's a little down. Yeah, Alex, I feel like you should say more about this than me. What do you think of him?
Well, what I love about Cecil, I mean, Hooded Man. No, he's Kane. He's awesome. I've actually been playing this already. I've been playing a lot on Untapped with the Opus 11 cards, and he fits into a few decks. We have a huge influx of 4 cards. The set Wind Water 4 looks very possible. Mono Wind 4 was already a thing in not like full 4, but like with cards is possible. And then Monks Earthwind is very possible. And I've been using this in Earthwind Monks. It brings back Ursula, it brings back Yang, and
nice.
Brings back 5 CP Cecil, which allows me to kind of pitch them early and get them back later, and that's all been super relevant. The EX Burst helps quite a bit, and with my Monk deck, I'm attacking with Yang and Ursula, and then all of a sudden they reactivate and they're blocking the next turn, and we'll talk more about that in Earth, but it's honestly been really neat so far. Now, in Wind Water 4, you're going to have Rosa forwards, you're going to have Cecil forwards, and you're going to have Theodore. In the Mono Wind 4, you have Barbaricia, you have the Back Attack Edge or the Ninja Edge, and you also have the Mega Sisters. So there's quite a bit of 4 options as well in just Mono Wind, which might make this worth playing. So and the Back Attack Edge can give it 4K power, which is nice as well. So yeah, so I think that this is just like a really solid EX Burst card, and it's a nice bit of recursion, and I'm kind of sold on it.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. Oh, this card.
Yeah, so the one thing about this card, and we're going to talk about this, it's Pandemonium, it's a 1 CP Wind summon, and it's category Mobius, although it should be 8. I believe it was White Mage on Facebook that brought that up. This should be category 8. We're not sure why it's not. So it's EX Burst. Choose one backup you control, activate it. That's good. Deal 2,000 damage to all forwards your opponent controls. If your opponent has received 5 points of damage or more, activate the backup and deal 4,000 instead. That's really, really good, but it's already really good. We have Valfor, we have Fina, we have all sorts of board clears, and then now this works with Barthandelus that we just talked about in the ice review. This card is really, really strong, and it's going to be nasty in Wind Water. So what I think about this card being printed is that maybe
it shouldn't have been.
Well, there's going to be an announcement on Tuesday, and that's before the set officially drops. And I'm wondering if we're in for a little ban coming up here. And I wouldn't be surprised if a certain bird summon, aka Valfor, is on the chopping block.
That will be interesting to see. I hope so, because this is just, again, why wind water, but wind on its own, like, can already just completely board wipe you completely with between the Pinello and the Valfors and the Finas and bouncing them. And to give this card is free. You literally can tap the backup and reactivate the very backup you used to play it, and just nuke the board for 2K. Or if they're behind, if they're near death, that's the last thing they need. Oh, good, now I can take more damage to the board. I mean, and because again, one of the strongest things in this game is just blanket board damage because Felthanos can't stop that. Cards that have choose, they don't block that. Yeah, basically nothing blocks that, save for like Minwu. And so you're just going to take all of that, and it's an EX burst on top of that. It's so strong. It's so strong, and with the other board wipes that Wind already has access to, it's just too much. Like, it's just one of these cards you're like, why? Why would you print this? Yeah, so as it stands right now, this is just annoying,
There's
incredibly
so
annoying.
there's so many implications with this. You can play your Fina and then ping with a Dancer or with a Pinello or with an Alhanalem, and then play this, and then ping again with one of those three backups I just mentioned, and then you're reaching 9k easily without the
Yeah,
damage 5 ability. That also just is even better with the damage 5 ability. One thing we didn't mention with the Chelinka backup is that it makes your Alhanalem always live, which is kind of neat.
yeah.
So I think that this is just, it's even with a Valfor ban, once you get your Pinello out and once you get your Pandemonium ready to go with Fina, you're very easily going to be clearing boards, and it's going to be super annoying to deal with.
Sometimes I think they really underestimate how strong it is to get your backup back. Again, why does this activate a backup? It didn't need to. For 1 CP in a board damage, I guess still would have been great. So the fact that it then just immediately pays for itself, that's just, I just don't, why? I just don't understand.
Yeah, this easily looks like one of the strongest cards in the set.
For sure.
And it just keeps getting better. For
Speaking of which, Fiona. Fiona is a 2 CP backup princess, relevant as you've said. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles has a very interesting action ability. For 2 wind and 2 colorless and a dull, you may search for 1 character and add it to your hand. So this card has definitely caused a lot of hubbub. Love the artwork, first of all. She's really cute, and I love that there's like looks like a map of, I'm guessing, the Crystal Chronicle worlds behind her, and it's got like this cool little border around it too, which really makes it look like a fairy tale, which I really like. So I love the artwork. Just so okay, so basically you're tapping your entire backup line if this is out because you need 4 CP plus your but you can pull out anything, any monster, any backup, any forward. The only thing you can't pull out is a summon. So as long as it's not a summon, whatever you need, boom, you've got it on demand. It's like a super version of the Google move. That being said, again, it is your entire backup line to play this or to use this effect. So I don't know. I don't know. This is I think be another one that, like, I think in the right deck it could be absolutely broken. In like a 7 deck or something that needs a special. Imagine literally just you tap out your backup line to pull out an Alua special and just whoop show on demand. That's pretty crazy. But it's also expensive enough that, I don't know, maybe people will say, it's just not worth it. So this is a hard one to judge. I could see this going either way. That either, it's actually not going to be used much, or, oh, this thing is a pain.
It's so good in mono wind because if you use this in any other color, like you said, that's your turn. So you didn't play a forward, you didn't cast a summon, and your opponent then has the initiative to play more forwards, attack, to do whatever. So you couldn't do it if you're behind. However, in wind, you can play Bartz, you can play Vada, you can play whatever, and then this is still alive because it reactivated your backups. So if you play Bartz and then search with this, you're fine because you also played a forward that turn. Then you can go ahead and grab your Fina and board clear the next turn because now you have it for sure. If you have it on your opponent's turn, they swing, they hit a Bartz, and you weren't going to use that CP, you just got 1 search.
Yeah.
Because they hit a Bartz on EX burst. So I think
that'd be brutal.
I think this is just a one of, and like it's just like you know that you're not going to be using it more than once a game, maybe, but the fact that you can be proactive and use it, it doesn't have to sink a turn. Like, for example, when you play Luminous Puma and Earth, oftentimes that's kind of like you're playing it for the turn and you're bringing something back, but then it's really hard to play anything else that turn, which means it's really difficult to play when you're behind. With this card, you can still play other stuff and then use it because of all the reactivation Wind has.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. We've got Float Eye, which is a 3 CP monster, and he's a Rimian or whatever that is, a Rimian. During your
Airman. Oh, I always called him
Airman,
Airman.
yeah,
But
sorry,
yeah.
Airman, that's easy. During your turn, Float Eye also becomes a forward with 7k power. And he has the discard ability, so one wind, discard Float Eye, remove a backup from the game, choose one forward of cost 5 or more, break it. You can only use this ability if Float Eye is in your hand. I like this one so far. We've done Fire, Ice, and Wind. This is my favorite one so far. It is interesting because while Wind plays lots of breakable backups, they also play lots of unbreakable backups. So maybe if you want to get rid of a Northstalin, this is actually...
Mion.
Yeah, this isn't a terrible way to do it. And then you can play something else. But again, Wind plays White Mage and Archer and Ninja, and those are all breakable backups. So Wind doesn't necessarily need this to clear backups. So is it going to see play? I don't know if it will or not. Donut can search it, but it's the best one so far.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. It's my favorite of the three. I don't think it'll see play still, but breaking a 5 cost is always very relevant. So maybe that'll cause for some one-ups.
Okay, how about Dat next card?
Woo! Dat next card. What? Yeah, so this is Bell Dat. Again, God, beautiful artwork. This is really making me want to check out My Life as a Dark Lord. Love the border, love the frame. So, 4 cost, 8k forward, Job Thief. When Bell Dat enters the field, you may search one job standard unit category. Let me get this straight. You may search for one job standard unit category Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicle forward and add it to your hand. It's very specific. When Bell Dat deals damage to your opponent, if you control a category of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicle forward other than Bell Dat, draw 1 card. Obviously, you would build a deck. This is a build-around card. This is not just something you throw into anywhere. You want other category FCC forwards who are also standard units, and I'm honestly not aware of how many of those are. Or how relevant that is. So if this card has cards to build around, it seems like it could be fun. Damage and draw is always a really neat mechanic. Honestly, I would play it just because of the artwork, because I think it's gorgeous. And yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
It is a 4 CP black belt if you don't search with it. So you can't play it for just the damage ability. It means that you have to put these other cards into your deck, and you don't necessarily want to do that because that makes your draws a little bit worse. But so if you're curious about what these cards are, there are 5 of them. We got them. They were the full art standard units. We got a few sets ago with custom artwork. And so that's the Lil T, Selkie, Yuke, Clavat, and we actually have 2 Selkies.
There's another Selkie from Opus XI.
Yeah, so those are all really really cool looking cards, and the one that you'd most likely be running is the Wind Selkie, but neither of them are that good. So I don't know if this is going to see play because of that. I probably wouldn't try it. The upside is pretty good, but there's a lot of hoops you got to jump through to make it happen. If you're running an Ultra FFCC deck, then this will be quite good with the Yuri that we're going to talk about soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we've got Bobby Corwin, which is a Chocobo. He's a 1 CP job Chocobo, category 9, 2000 power. Bobby Corwin can form a party with forwards of any element. He's just such a good friend. He doesn't care who's, he'll do it with anybody. Right. He'll be friends with you. And he doesn't look nearly as sad as the other one we had. So when a forward forming a party with Bobby Corwin is put from the field to the break zone, draw 2 cards. I don't know, like, this can't happen in combat, right? Because whoever kills him in the forward, they're going to kill Bobby too, and then Bobby won't draw you a card. So, like, do you have to, like, party attack and famfrit your guy or something? Like, how do
you... it has to, because otherwise what would be the point? Yeah, when a forward forming a party with Bobby Corwin is put, I'm assuming that counts himself. It doesn't say other than him. It just says
he's not a forward forming a party with himself. He is.
So is it only the other forwards with him?
I think it's the other forward, and it's also, if he dies, I don't believe that effect takes place.
If that's true, then this card sucks.
So Yeah, and there's no FAQ about him except for that if you want to form a party of three, that the other two cards have to be the same element. So Bobby Corbin could form a party with two Earth cards or two Water cards, but he couldn't form a party with a Water and Earth card. Uh,
Right.
so we'll have to get clarification on this one. Um,
If he counts himself, then he's worth trying out. I still don't think he's very good. If he doesn't count himself, he's terrible, and I would never use him.
I'm pretty certain that he doesn't count himself. The thing I want to get clarification on is if he dies and the other forward also dies, do you get to draw two? Because then maybe it's worth it. But I would be willing to say that he does not count himself, just because it's one of forward forming a party with Bobby Corman. He can't be that forward. He is Bobby Corman. So
Right.
uh,
That makes sense. That's too specific, regardless. Like, even if it works the way that's more in favor of you as the controller, like, it's just too specific. It's only
Yeah.
during attacking. Like you said, they can, if it works that you can just take out the, okay, well, I'll just take him out, and then there, you don't even get the effect. Generally, yeah, you don't want something that you want to get killed for like that. Like, yeah, we could have had a much better Chocobo. I'm glad that other one showed up.
Now I think we have a few viewers that are a lot more rule savvy than we are. So please comment below and tell us how this card works.
Thanks.
Okay, how about our next card?
This is Maina? Mina? I'm not sure how you pronounce this, so I'll say Maina. She's a 3 CP backup, Job Ninja, FFL. She's Final Fantasy Legend. EX Burst. When Maina enters the field, you may search for one Job Ninja forward or card name Ninja forward and add it to your hand. If you're going to be trying ninjas this set, this is obviously an instant include, as it lets you instantly pull out your edge, or if there's another relevant one you want to grab. And it's an EX Burst, which is great too. I really like her artwork. So yeah, if you're into ninjas, you're into this.
Yeah, this is solid. It increases the amount of ninjas you have on the board. So if you play a couple of ninja backup breaking backups plus this in mono wind, you could have a mono wind ninja pretty easily. And then as soon as you get into fire, I'm actually starting to rethink what I was thinking earlier, which is it's reasonable to have two ninja backups out. I think you could easily have 3 to 4 ninja backups out, and then all of a sudden your ninja based effects become very, very powerful if you're going full on into the ninja theme.
Folks, we're getting him on board the ninja train. We'll have him by the end of the set. And again, but to be fair, Alex, in the past, stuff like this hasn't always worked this well because it will just say job or it will just say card. And so again, that excludes a bunch of cards. But now, because of these, it's including everyone. So
okay, our next card is our second wind. Oh no, this is the first legend that we're talking about. They're coming at the end here. So this is Yuna. She's a 3 CP 7K forward job summoner category 10, and she's got quite a bit of text. The cost required to cast her summons can be paid with CP of any element. That's fine. They've slapped that onto a lot of cards. When Yuna enters the field, you may pay 3 wind and 2 generic, so that's an extra 5, making her 8 CP. If you do so, you can choose. You can search up to 6 summons, each of a different element and cost, and add them to your hand. So that's really hard to do. So there's a potential to make back more than the 8 CP you spent on it, but it's going to be hard to do that consistently. It's really weird to think about this card and how that's going to work. Even if you search a couple of summons, it might be worth it, but I'm having a really hard time figuring this one out. And then her special is double cast, which is just 1 Yuna, which is a good cost. When you cast a summon this turn, you may cast 1 summon from your hand with a cost inferior of that summon that you cast without paying its cost. Now that is good. So what it really is saying is if you cast a summon, cast a second one of lower cost for 2 CP, which is not terribly hard to do. And you could cast something really cool, like for example, you cast a Diabolos and then pitch your Yuna and cast a 4 CP Alexander and just wreak havoc on your opponent. So that sounds pretty fun.
Yuna is one of my favorite Final Fantasy characters, probably my favorite female character. I love the artwork. Amano stuff is always great. That being said, I have no comments on how this card works because I haven't the slightest clue. My buddy Max, he loves the summon decks. So he loves Rydia, Fusoya, that whole mix. And they're fun to see when they work, but There's a reason you don't see those competitively because they're just too unreliable and they're too inconsistent. I imagine this card is going to be the same way. At the same time, again, maybe you have that bonkers play where you go and then like yeah, who knows? It's a lot of text for an effect that I'm not sure about. And yeah, if you wanted to get 6 summons, you have to play all 6 elements. So
Yeah.
it's fun, it's unique, but I think it'll be too goofy to ever be seen competitively. Max, prove me wrong.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to see some people that are focused more on the special and less on the searching, and maybe this is an Earth Wind deck that runs, because Earth has a lot of color fixing, so maybe we'll see an attempt with that, because then you can get into Lightning pretty easily, and you can also get into Earth pretty easily in Mono Wind because of the Dougals that we have, so there are some things to try out, but it's a combo that you have to set up. It's very deck building intensive.
Absolutely.
Okay, here's a card that we've already seen, but is now officially coming out.
Yeah, which is weird. I didn't know it was going to be for this opus. So this is Yuri, Joblade Crystal user, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, forward, 4 cost, 7k power. If you control 4 or more category FFC characters, Yuri cannot be chosen by your opponent's abilities. You can dull Yuri to reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a category FFC character, you can add it to your hand. If it's not that category FFC character, put it into the break zone. I haven't seen this card used once, and it's been out for a long time. It's incredibly inferior to the other Yuri. However, I will say we do have a ton more FFC cards now, so maybe if you just jam this into a deck full of that, with all the ones that came out in this set, maybe he actually won't be so risky when he does that move, and you'll like almost always be getting a character every turn. So in that sense, he could see some play otherwise. But if you're not using him for that specific purpose, I don't see why you'd ever touch this.
Yeah, I don't like this card. I do like the not chosen by abilities, but I feel like I'm going to be playing the other Yuri. So
yeah, the other Yuri is incredible. Like,
who would have thought that we would have just so many FFC cards printed? Like of all the Final Fantasy games, who would have thought that we'd have the game has a massive amount of FFCC characters in it?
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, next up we have Ritz, which is our second legend, and she is quite the legend indeed. 3 CP 7k, wind forward, job fencer. If you control a category FFTA forward other than Ritz, she gains 1000 power and haste. When Ritz attacks, choose 3 backups you control, activate them, and then damage 3, Ritz cannot be blocked. That's just crazy. It's not that hard to get to damage 3, and as soon as you do, she is just always attacking and activating backups, and I'm just so excited for this card because I think that it's not overpowered because you have to put a lot into using it, but I think that it rewards you quite a bit for using it, so it's just going to be super fun to play with, and it's still going to be pretty easy to deal with because everything that hits a 3 cost will still hit a 3 cost, so I think that overall it's going to be just a fun card.
I think the jury's still out on overpowered for me, but this card's like Adele on steroids, and I love Adele. I think that's a great card. And yeah, this one is just like, whew. I mean, the only thing that I think kind of keeps it in check is that it doesn't gain the haste unless you have another FFTA forward. So you are required to, like you said, build around it to a degree. But man, if she lives for a turn, then it doesn't even matter because you're just backups on attack, and the fact that she just can't be blocked, period, is just, woo! I mean, that's just such a strong effect, period, on any card, which is why Adele's so strong. So, yeah, I think she's going to be a powerhouse.
Yeah, and you know what? For the same reason that Adele, no one's screaming that she should get banned, it will be the same thing for Ritz. And I know you don't like this argument, but I've never had an issue dealing with Adele. I'm not going to have an issue dealing with Ritz. And I know that Wind has built-in protection as well, but again, it's the same thing. We'll deal with that card for sure. But it is a very, very strong card. Super strong. Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, I actually like, because of the way that first category works is that, let's say there's only one other forward on the field, and then when you go to attack or whatever, in response, let's say I blow up that other, with my summon. Now she's lost her haste, so
Yeah.
now she can't come in at me. So this one, again, there's ways it feels like there's ways to deal with this, and
that's why I'm
tweak it a little
saying
bit.
that it's like it's a really good card because it's ultra powerful, but this isn't going to be an Alua. This isn't going to be
That's good.
that you know, it's not going to be a Sephiroth, you know, the Dark Sephiroth. It's not going to be one of those cards. It is just going to be a pushed legendary, which is great. Like those are it's fun for everybody.
For sure.
So that's it for Wind, and looking at it overall, I think that it's weaker than Ice and Fire in terms of what it got, but it did get some very good cards. But overall, like some of these standard units, some of these monsters and stuff, like I think overall it wasn't quite as good as the other two elements, but some of the stuff it did get, like Pandemonium and Ritz and Donad, like there's some really good cards there.
This is an interesting one for Wind because it's a lot more focused. Like some Wind in the past has just been generic good for any kind of Wind, whereas this is very like Ninja heavy and like Crystal Chronicles heavy. Other Pandemonium's kind of like the one card that's like, this will just go in. But everything else seems like very focused around a certain strategy. So.
All right. So next up we have Earth, and we'll be getting that done at some point this weekend so we can get it out to you as soon as possible. And I just want to thank everybody for watching us so far. My name is Alex Scott.
I'm Travis Pfeifer.
And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. You can like and subscribe to support us further, and you can read the Mysidia Post articles at themysidiapost.com. You can also check out our Patreon if you want to support us more. And if you need FFTCG singles, then look no further than Cards That You Release. They've got great deals and prices. Check them out. Finally, I'd like to thank FF Decks for creating the best website for creating your Final Fantasy trading card game decks. They've also got a Patreon, so make sure you go check them out. They work so hard for the community, so let's pay them back. See you next time.